coming up.
I got in a little bit over my head, but we both made it out alive.
He calls it his beautiful chaos with one dude and 4 gals. We hear from Diaries blogger and author Stoney Stamper. Plus, a traditional Cherokee hog fry at the creek, celebrating beloved hog fry master Woody Hare, who shares stories from the good old days.
Gonna
use your elbow.
And an Arkansas State Park interpreter whose Cherokee heritage and love of nature combine to create a unique opportunity for park patrons.
The Cherokees.
A thriving American Indian tribe.
Our history.
Our culture.
Our people.
Our future.
The principles of a historic nation.
Sewn into the fabric of a modern world.
Hundreds of thousands strong.
Learning. Growing.
Succeeding.
And steadfast.
In the past, we have persevered through struggle.
But the future is ours to write.
Osiyo.
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 These are the voices of the Cherokee people.
I'm Cherokee Nation Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. On behalf of Cherokee citizens, I'm pleased to present Osiyo, Voices of the Cherokee People, a program dedicated to Cherokee history and heritage. The stories you will see represent Cherokee values, pride, and culture. We hope you enjoy it. Wado.
Osiyo, it's how we say hello in Cherokee. I'm your host, Jennifer Lauren, at the Cherokee National History Museum in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, where visitors can experience the Cherokee creation story, learn about the Trail of Tears, and how we established our nation here in present-day Oklahoma. We'll learn more about that history a little later in the show. But first, he's a husband, a father, a blogger, and an author who writes about the shenanigans of his daily life. Stoney Stamper shares the experiences and challenges that come with being the father of 3 girls.
Hey everyone, I'm so excited to be shooting for OsiyoTV today. We're all gussied up and have cameras all over the house. We feel like the Kardashians, except with smaller butts. My name's Stoney Stamper. I'm the owner and author of the Diaries. I write a blog that covers all the good, bad, and the ugly of parenting and blended families. I am the husband of April, and we've got 3 little girls, not so little anymore. Abby's 19, Emma is 15, and Gracie is 6. Abby and Emma are April's daughters from her first marriage, but we don't use the word stepdaughters. They're my kids. I grew up in Murphy, Oklahoma. My family has a quarter horse ranch there in Murphy. I've always been a writer, or at least I've always enjoyed writing. No one ever read what I wrote, but I enjoyed it. After our 3rd daughter, Gracie, was born, Gracie being my first baby. The older girls, I wasn't around when they were babies, so this was my first foray into taking care of an infant. And one particular day, we had bought April a spa package for Mother's Day, and Gracie was about 6 weeks old. I thought I could handle it with no problems, just the 2 of us. Didn't quite turn out that way. And as I was looking at her face, a Bellagio fountain came out. I screamed a little bit. I got in a little bit over my head, but we both made it out alive. I posted it on my personal Facebook page, and it got shared almost 1,000 times. So finally, when that happened, I thought, well, maybe people will enjoy reading it. I could have never dreamed at the time that it would bring a book deal and a little minor slice of D-list celebrity status, which maybe D's too high, maybe more like a F or a G-list celebrity, but we get recognized from time to time, and people really enjoy the stories of our family. The girls, April, are the clear muses. I've always enjoyed telling stories, and I always like to look at it from a humorous standpoint.
Abby plugged her finger and she put it in my ear, and it was disgusting and gross.
And what's it called?
What lily?
A what?
What lily?
I live in a whirlpool of estrogen around here, and I have 3 girls that are very different from one another.
If I sit in this and it breaks, you are absolutely not allowed.
Absolutely going to put it in the episode.
Post it anywhere.
I had been asked to write the book for Penguin Random House in August. And on November the 8th of 2017, a box truck pulled out in front of me at a stoplight. And there was not much time to react. And I hit him. I was trapped in the truck for about an hour. My legs were just mangled underneath the dash. And ironically, one of the first people to pull up on the wreck was April. She just happened to be coming home from taking our daughter to school. I can never say how thankful I am for her. There's no way that we'd be here today if it wasn't for her. She had to take care of me night and day and change bandages in the middle of the night and make sure I was taking my medicine and make sure I was eating. And so she got a lot thrown at her in a really short amount of time. You know, for the most part, it all fell to her, and she kept us afloat. You know, laying there in that hospital bed, there was really only one thing I wanted, and that was for all 4 of my girls to be beside me. Nothing else is really that important. You know, a lot of times you have this illusion, you have this picture in your mind of what life should be like. People on the internet, they see only the good things that happen in our family. I try to paint the full picture. I tell stories, whether they're good or bad, but what we found, especially since my wreck, is that life doesn't care what your illusions are. Life happens, you know, and we believe that God has His timing, and everything happens when it's supposed to happen. You have to just roll with the punches and adapt and find happiness in whatever you're dealt. It's not always perfect, but you know, it's real life. We're gonna have kids at the house for quite a few more years, so we've got a lot of parenting left to do. I always wanted them to try. I always hope that they'll work hard. If they're going to do something, that they'll give it their very best. I've wanted to be a writer for my entire life, and I'm 40 years old, and it's only really just now happening. So I hope that they'll be the same way. If there's something that they're really passionate about, I hope they stay after it and find some success in that.
Woody Hare is a Cherokee elder known fondly throughout the Cherokee Nation, in large part because of the traditional hog fries he hosts. Everyone who comes is considered family, and no one leaves hungry.
Smile, Woody. I am. My teeth about ready for it now.
Everybody knows Woody. He's always there for you. If you need help, he's going to help you. He's just an all outstanding man, I guess you'd say, if you want to put it in a nutshell, you know. And then when it comes time for hog fries, call Woody.
He's always been there for everybody. That's just it.
He's a good man. Enjoy being around him. Every time I see him, I shake his hand. Hey, Woody, how you doing? Because, you know, there's not too many elders, you know, and he's one I always respect because I know he's got some stories, and that's what I love about natives. We like to tell stories, and he always has one.
That was a good one. I'm Woody Hare, and I'm 90 years old. Just again, going to the door, there's one. Can we done in the north box to know? Those installers, truck to the loss, sail door to go, say, you down and done. And 10 hours later, I was in Walls, Colorado. And I was too little to cut corn, but they let me work on table. I stayed there all summer. God, good Scottish water. Without a little sequel, bought me a radio, box radio, and every day at noon, our neighbors come at our house, listen to Bob Wills and Texas Playboys.
He just, goes back into time and talks about things that he did, and his baseball team, really, though, that's his major thing. He'll talk about baseball.
He's always played ball. They always had their own team. Then he had softball team. He was always playing ball with everybody. And Woody even got to play against Mickey Mantle. Yeah, I grew up playing baseball with Mickey Mantle. Yeah, Mickey was playing for Spavinaw. Well, that's where he was raised at, Spavinaw. They signed Mickey up at Spavinaw, and Woody was pitching. Spavinaw had two teams. They had an Indian team, they had a white team, and Mickey Mantle, his dad, and his uncle, we all played together. And I pitched against them. Mickey Mantle's first home run was off of me, right up here east of Kenwood. Well, when I was a kid, I used to go to U.S. Church. They'd go buy a hog, and I'd help them dress the hog, and they'd start cooking, Go put one more stick of wood on that fire. Them guys said, put another stick of wood in that fire. I'd put another stick in it, stir it 2 or 3 times, I stayed with them. That's where I got started cooking hog. Yeah.
We didn't have microwaves then, did we?
No, I didn't know what a microwave was. Barely had matches.
Barely had matches.
For today's gathering, while we're here together, celebrate Woody Hare's anniversary. A great man who's still getting around good for his age at 90 years old, 90 years young, should I say, I'm sorry. And he's still doing his thing and making the hog meat.
Then he going again, he should go at test. Dogen just enough stone. Lele, utan dosa stans, Pino Park is on disco. God,
Birthdays, anniversaries, that's usually what people want is hog fries,
They want hog meat and beans and fried bread. A lot of people likes hog meat. When you're having a hog fry somewhere, a lot of people's gonna show up. Who's cooking? Woody's cooking.
Nobody cooks meat like Woody.
To me, he makes one of the best hog meat around, if not the best hog meat around. It just tastes good. I mean, everything about it. As a kid, as I was growing up, I know everybody said, who's cooking hog meat? When the name Woody come around, everybody got happy and surprised because they knew that it was going to be some good food there, and even I can see now that not only does he do it, but his boys as well. He's passed his tradition on to his boys to cook.
George is my boy. George does all the building fire and handling kindle. I got the easy job now.
Flavor.
Gives us a flavor.
I think it's good.
He's been coming down here every 4th and cooking for his anniversary and as well, and it's a great gathering and brings great peace upon a lot of people when we gather here. You know, most of my family, my friends, this is where we grew up as kids. You know, there's about 10 or 12 of us all ran and jumped in this creek you see behind us, climbed these rocks, these trails.
Well, I run up and down here when I was that tall. We had fun.
We enjoyed it. You know, it brings great joy to our families to come together, you know, in unison and see one another. It's a great place for everybody to have a good time, feast, share stories, laugh, have fun, play games. To me, it's unity. To me, it's what our people is about, and that's what the celebration is about today as well for Woody, of gathering and bringing people together, you know.
Rebecca Ketcher-Nugent was one of many survivors of the infamous Trail of Tears from the southeastern United States to present-day Oklahoma. Today, the Trail of Tears Association preserves stories like hers, stories of Cherokees who survived the long, forced journey into Indian Territory.
We want to thank everyone for coming today. This is a great occasion. This is the 157th marking and honoring ceremony of the Trail of Tears survivors.
The Oklahoma chapter decided what they would do is find the graves of people who had come on the Trail of Tears and put a plaque on those in remembrance of those individuals, and then also bring the families of those individuals to the site.
We wanted to bring the families of those people who came on the Trail of Tears together. As you see, the Nugent family has come together.
So that they'd be aware that the Trail of Tears happened to their family. It wasn't an event back in history that we talk about, but it actually had an impact on our families.
Rebecca traveled with her family on the trail and would have arrived in present-day Oklahoma in March 1839 as a young girl. After enduring so much, this plaque on Nugent's gravestone honors her survival and strength as she and her family were forced into a new life. The Trail of Tears was a defining point in the history of Cherokee Nation. However, the end of the Trail of Tears is a less understood aspect of this historic event. Approximately 16 separate detachments left on the Trail of Tears from the southeastern United States between 1838 and 1839.
3 detachments were under the federal government, and the soldiers were escorting and forcing them to the west. Then the 12 detachments plus the water detachment under Ross.
A common misconception is that there was one stopping point for the Trail of Tears in Indian Territory. In reality, there were several endpoints for the trail. They were called disbandment depots. They were also known as subsistence depots, dispersal camps, or ration depots. These sites provided an endpoint for the Cherokees arriving in Indian Territory. There were 5 known disbandment depots throughout present-day Oklahoma. Principal disbandment depots included Mrs. Weber's Plantation, New Fort Wayne, also known as Beatty's Prairie, and the Bushy Head site. Lesser-known sites include McCoy's in Park Hill and Lee's Creek. The disbandment depots provided the surviving Cherokees with rations and other supplies before they settled throughout Indian Territory. Bushy Head, or Woodalls as it was also known, was a disbandment depot located just outside present-day Westville, Oklahoma, near the state line of Arkansas. Today, the Old Baptist Mission Church stands on the site where many Cherokees began their new lives. Its congregation began in 1830 before coming to Indian Territory on the Trail of Tears. The church that stands today was built in 1888 and continues to hold services, likely making it the oldest congregation in Oklahoma that is still meeting. Mrs. Weber's Plantation was also a principal disbandment depot located near present-day Stillwell, Oklahoma. Signs located within Stillwell Cemetery tell of the depot that brought in roughly 2,800 Cherokees at the end of their long journey. Another principal disbandment depot, New Fort Wayne, also known as Beatty's Prairie, was located just inside the Oklahoma state line near Maysville, Arkansas. It was here that approximately 4,900 displaced Cherokees made their way into Indian Territory. Little is left of the fort today and its important place in Cherokee history. Even less is known about two additional disbandment depots, McCoy's, near Park Hill and Lees Creek, Oklahoma. The disbandment depots were not without issue. An 1842 report to the United States Congress supplied by Lieutenant Colonel Hitchcock outlined frauds committed at the disbandment depots, fraud concerning ration tickets, and complaints detailing the poor quality of corn and beef provided to Cherokee survivors.
There hasn't been a lot written, and actually there aren't a lot of documents that talk about the depots other than the Hitchcock report.
The end of the Trail of Tears solidified the legacy and strengthened survival the spirit of the Cherokee Nation and its citizens embody today.
Jaleki Idiwanihi. Let's talk Cherokee. Siyo galna dawadoa.
Siyo galna dawadoa.
I don't know. Shayagwan ta.
Shayagwan ta.
I don't know. Shayagwan ta.
Shayagwan ta.
Sasha Bowles likes to tell people she gets to play in the dirt for a living. As an Arkansas State Park interpreter, Sasha not only gets to share her love of nature with park visitors, but also parts of her Cherokee heritage and history.
If I have a bad day, I'm going outside. I want to be out by the water or, looking at birds or mammals or whatever. Nature is just part of my everyday life. My name is Sasha Bowles. I'm a park interpreter here at Lake Dardanelle State Park in Russellville, Arkansas. I am in charge of doing educational programs, so I get to teach visitors and kids alike about nature and history and culture of the area. A park interpreter, we don't speak a lot of languages, which is what people typically think interpreters do, but we do tell stories. We tell the stories of the nature of the area and the history of the area and what makes this area unique. As a kid, I was always outside playing in the dirt, catching frogs and lizards and whatever I could get my hands on. So I guess I didn't have to grow up in that sense. I still get to play in the dirt and it's great. I can't be in four walls. The hardest time for me is when I have to do reports and be in front of my computer and I have to take breaks and go outside and be with the bugs and the plants and the birds. I've always known that I was Cherokee. It's never been like a big family secret or anything. But for me, it was always a little tougher because we don't live in Oklahoma. So I've always been an at-large citizen. In trying to learn as much as I can about, traditional practices and things like that, I've gone to some of the cultural classes at the Heritage Center, flint knapping classes and pottery classes, hide tanning classes, basket baking classes, moccasin classes. Me and my mom had come last year and learned how to make moccasins, so this year we came back to learn how to bead them. If you don't want to add a lot of beadwork, you can actually just add an edging to the moccasins that you have without adding the extra linen and wool. A lot of times, my mom will go with me to the classes because she grew up in Muskogee, so she was a lot closer to Cherokee Nation than I was. She enjoys sharing the traditions and learning new things. So the Arkansas River runs right through the middle of Lake Dardanelle. And so during removal times, there were lots of Native Americans, not just Cherokees, but also Choctaws and Chickasaws, Seminoles. All the 5 tribes were moved through here on the river at some point during their removals. We are kind of sandwiched between the Bell route and the water route. So several detachments that went through on the water route, and once they got here to Dardanelle, they had to decide if they were going to continue on water and get on smaller keelboats that could take them all the way to Indian Territory, or if they were going to take the land route and go the rest of the way. So it was a big decision-making point here. Once they got here, they kind of had to assess their own family group situation, if they were able to walk or if they were going to have to stay on the boats. There was no easy way. You know, there's so much history around here, not just with the White Mission or the Trail of Tears, but, you know, Sequoyah lived on Illinois' Bayou, which is one of the tributaries to this lake. I created a trail brochure that incorporates Cherokee uses of plants, but it also has the syllabary and the pronunciation, the phonetics, so that people can learn a little snippet of Cherokee language, but they also get some of the history and a little bit of the, you know, the cultural, why plants were so important, and why, you know, being taken away from the plants that you had always known in our homelands in the East and being brought to Oklahoma was such a big dramatic change, because the plants aren't the same, but they're very important for not only food, but for cultural practices and for medicine. For me, it's kind of doubly rewarding, because I not only get to learn about my history, but I get to learn about the history of this area and learn about, you know, Cherokee history. Probably around the time this will air, I will be having a baby boy. So there will be lots to teach him and lots of fun adventures to share and pass on traditions and things like that.
What if it like stops?
When you interact with kids and even adults, they don't always realize that this isn't the only way it's ever been. I get to share my love of nature and of Cherokee culture and history with everybody that visits the park. It's sharing a piece of me. And when I get those, you know, those light bulb aha moments, that's what it's for. That's what makes it worth it.
We hope you enjoyed our show. And remember, you can always watch entire episodes and share your favorite stories online at Osiyo.tv. There is no Cherokee word for goodbye, because we know we'll see you again. We say, Doda Dago Ha'i. Wado.